Okay, so your boy Fresh had technically goofed again when it comes to our coverage over the X-Men. And the reason why I'm saying that because, okay, we already covered the first two chapters of Legion Quest when it came to our coverage over X Factor. But here's the problem though. When it comes to X-Men issue number 39, it is actually another prelude that leads into Legion Quest. So we should have covered this book first before we have dived into the X Factor chapters of Legion Quest. But don't worry, after this video, we should be back on track when it comes to our coverage over the X-Men. Now, here's the thing about this issue. It's mostly about one particular character, and that would be Adam X. Now, when it comes to Adam X, he first appeared over in X-Force Annual number 2, but in that annual, we did not learn much about his origin. And the reason why, because, well, unfortunately, he does not even know his own origin story yet. And technically, when it came to this point in the X-Men timeline, it's still him trying his best to discover where he came from. And the only thing we got in so far is like, there's a possibility that he's from space. And that's really it. Because in the 1990s, when it came to Adam X, Marvel tried their best to make this character work out, to make him very mysterious, to have fans be very intrigued about his origin story. Because in each X book he appeared in, we got a small piece of his origin, and that's really it. And so when it comes to X-Men issue number 39, we're getting another piece of his origin story. But it's also the book kind of hinting at the idea that there is a possibility of a connection between Adam X and also Scott Summers. And the reason why I'm saying that because we do pick up with a flashback. Now, this flashback does take place back in World War II with Philip Summers, the grandfather to Scott Summers and Alex Summers. Now, when it comes to Philip Summers, he was a pilot back in World War II fighting against the Nazis. So the opening pages of the storyline is really more of us seeing him in action, fighting against a few Nazis. But here's the thing, because these opening pages really kind of lead into the idea of what I said earlier. There could be a huge connection between Adam X and also the Summers family, because as we jump over to the present day, we do pick up with Adam X. Now, this is Adam X just out in the middle of Canada trying his best to work over to Alaska. Now, with that being said, it is the middle of winter, so unfortunately, it is pretty cold. And that really does play a factor in today's storyline. But for Adam X, while traveling over to Alaska, he realized that he sees the smoke coming from a nearby area. And so you have Adam X go over there to investigate. And when he does arrive to that area, he does find a plane crash. Now, we do learn here the plane does belong to Philip Summers, the grandfather to Alex and Scott Summers. And so you do have Adam X go out of his way to hopefully save the life of Philip Summers by pulling him out of the plane just in time before the plane had exploded. But now we have to jump over to the school of Charles Xavier, where we do pick up with Beast coming by to see Jean Grey to give her the latest gossip of what's going on at the school. Now, for Jean Grey, she's not really listening. And the reason why, because, okay, she had just found out recently that her sister is dead. Now, remember, in the early parts of our coverage over the X-Men, we had learned that Jean Grey's sister, Sarah, was just missing. And the problem was that plot line was completely forgotten about for many years in Marvel Comics. But then out of nowhere in the Phalanx Covenant crossover, it was brought back up, where we learned that she had died by the hands of Cameron Hodge. And most likely, her body was absorbed by the Phalanx. So for Jean Grey, she's kind of in a bad spot at the moment. But then she realized her husband needs her. And that would be Scott Summers. Now, this is Scott Summers right now freaking out. And the reason why, because he just got word that his grandfather is missing, because his granddad had decided to take a plane out for the night just one more time. Unfortunately, he has not returned yet. Now, we know where he's at the moment. His plane had crashed. But for Scott Summers, he does not know that yet. And so Scott telling Beast, I need to borrow the Blackbird to go out there to look for my grandfather. Getting back over to Philip and also Adam, it's the two characters right now trying their best to survive a night in Canada in the middle of the winter season. But here's the thing, really for Philip, he had already given up. And the reason why, because he believes there is no way they will be able to get any help at all out here in the middle of nowhere. Now, really for Adam, he hates the idea of giving up. He said, listen, we are not going to back down just yet. We're going to still try our best to find some way to survive, but to also get help. Now, with the whole idea of Adam not giving up, for Philip, it reminds him of Scott Summers. And this is why I say, like, this storyline is kind of hinting at the idea that there could be a connection between Scott Summers and also Adam. But for right now, we don't know. But for Adam, he loves the idea of hearing this old man talk about his family. Because remember, for Adam, he has no idea what is his origin yet. Not yet, but soon he will down the road in our coverage over the X-Men. Now, let's go ahead and get into the whole idea of why I said that this is technically a prequel to Legion Quest, because we do pick up with David right now. And the thing is, he's being confronted by Destiny. Now, it does seem like with him being out in the middle of the desert, the heat is truly affecting him. So he's currently seeing a mirage. But it's also Destiny saying like, hey, Legion, you have the ability to save both the humans and the mutant race, to bring them together. And so it's him realizing what he has to do to complete that kind of goal. And again, it leads into Legion Quest and the whole idea of Age of Apocalypse. Now, we also get another page of the whole idea of the Assassin Guild trying to bring in a new leader. And of course, it would be Belladonna. Because remember, when it came to the previous leader, her father, he died. He's gone. And so now it leaves the door open for her to take up the mantle. But the problem is right now, she wants revenge against Gambit. And really, that'll be more explained in the Rogue miniseries we're going to cover here soon on the channel. But getting back over to Philip and also Adam, it's the two characters right now trying their best to just survive in the middle of the night in the winter season. Now, for Adam, he's trying his best to explain where he came from to Philip, who wants to know more about him. Now, here's the thing, because like I said earlier, when it came to Marvel Comics, when it came to the whole idea of giving us the origin of Adam, we only got small pieces here and there when it came to his origin. And so this is just another small piece of his origin. The whole idea that the man came from space, but at the same time, he could be from Earth as well. We don't truly know. But apparently he did spend some time out there in space doing something special. Now for Philip, it does seem like he is going to die. But you do have Adam being able to use his powers to keep Philip alive long enough until somebody could be able to arrive to help them out. And luckily for our characters, help does arrive. Now, when help does arrive, you do have Adam disappear because he does not want to be seen. But you do have the help being able to take Philip over to a nearby hospital. Now, when they do, you do have Jean Grey and Cyclops down in the lower area of the hospital. But then Jean Grey realized that there's somebody in the room with Philip. So she goes back upstairs and she's correct. It's Adam X. Now, when it comes to Adam, it's just him making sure that Philip is okay, which he is, but you didn't have Jean Grey realize there's something about Adam that reminds her of somebody else. And again, for me, it's kind of like another hint at the idea that there's some kind of connection between Adam and also the Summers family. But this kind of leads into the whole idea of the origin of Adam. Not a complete origin, but a small piece of his origin. Because once you have Jean Grey being able to connect his mind to Philip's mind, we do learn that for Adam, he was part of the Shi'ar Empire. And that right there is pretty huge. Because now we know that he was on some kind of suicide mission. And that mission unfortunately led him over to Earth. So now we know how he arrived on Earth. But the reason why you had Jean Grey go ahead and connect his mind to Philip's mind is because She wanted to give him that chance to experience being a pilot again, except this time in space. And so honestly, it was a great experience for Philip. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.